Today's guest is Paige Trinnaman Kimball, author of Pinocchio Girl, a powerful memoir about her journey as a Mormon mother, leaving her faith and finding her voice and herself on the other side. Raised in a large Mormon family and married young into a prominent LDS lineage, Paige spent years performing the role of the good girl, but eventually the pressure to be perfect gave way to deeper desire to be real. So whether you've questioned your own beliefs or simply want to hear from someone who has walked the path of radical self-honesty, this conversation is for you. We're talking to you. Paige, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to bring these things to the forefront, especially being here in Utah, having reclaimed my life, and I'm just excited to share and to have conversations.
Oh, I'm so happy to chat with you, and I know this will be so beneficial for our viewers. Okay, so for listeners who are new to Pinocchio Girl, can you share what the book is about and why now felt like that right time to tell your story?
Well, I'm always listening to my deepest intuition nowadays. And so this book was just ready to birth me and to be born. And so what this book is about when a good girl stops performing and starts telling the truth. And also, as women, we are done being polite about our pain. And it is just time to be real.
I like that, Paige. We are done. We are done. It's so relatable. Okay, so the title is so striking. What does Pinocchio Girl mean to you, especially in the context of performance, identity, and becoming real, like you said?
Well, it's difficult to become real when you're constantly outsourcing your authority. And this is something that happens when you're in an organized religion. It's just natural. It's not something that you necessarily choose. It just happens. And so Pinocchio, the boy in the story, he needed to come to terms with his lies first. And I needed to stop lying, and I needed to burn my script.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's what we know of Pinocchio, right? Is the lying and to stop the lies. You've said this book is about more than just your life. It's about bigger questions many women are quietly asking, like, what if I don't want to be good? What if I want to be real? What does that question mean to you personally?
Well, in this culture, goodness is currency. And, realness, it's messy, it's unpredictable, it makes people uncomfortable. And so that's really what this is talking about. And it's giving women a permission slip to be gloriously messy.
It kind of sounds, I mean, yes, it's scary because it's like change if you're not used to it, and change anything outside of like that bubble can feel so scary, but that's where the real growth is.
Absolutely.
And that can feel so good. So good. It's almost like you're just like taking off that heavy backpack or something, you know, imagining just like the weight that you carry when you're performing all the time and not being authentic. One question, Paige, that so many people wrestle with during a faith transition is, can I really change my life without losing everything I love? What has your experience been with that?
Yes and no, because you're going to have to grieve who you were or who you thought you were and who everyone else thought you were. And so there are many deaths that happen. And some of those deaths are within the relationships of people you love. One of them is with yourself, your old self. And then there are all the dreams that you have built up and that you've looked forward to possibly your whole life. And it all comes crashing down.
Tumbling down. That's a good way to put it, where like there might be many deaths of just grieving the loss of like different personalities, different relationships. How has your idea of God or the sacred changed since stepping away from organized religion?
This is such a good question because I was a woman of deep faith. My religion was so important to me and my relationship to God. And so when you leave, you're faced with whether to keep that relationship or that construct, however you want to look at it, or to dismantle it. So what I say is I put Jesus on the shelf until I figured it out. And I was so relieved when probably a decade later, Christ came back into my life, but it was just a new way, and it was a more integrated way, and it was a partnership much more than someone outside of me. And I was I was so, so relieved. And I write about that in my book. And it actually was during plant medicine, which may be controversial to some, but just extreme gratitude that I get to have a relationship with Christ, and that he is within me.
That's a great way to put it. Like, you put it on the shelf, with anything in your life. If you're kind of questioning it, if you're just put it on the shelf where you're not completely walking away, you're just kind of putting it aside for a minute. It's a great way to put it. In the book, you write with honesty about shame, beauty culture, and body sovereignty. How has your relationship with your body evolved over time?
Excellent question. I've always been really insecure about my body, and it's always been this mystery to me. Why is this so deep? My mother was a pageant queen. I was a pageant queen. My sister was a pageant queen. And now my body is my oracle. And so instead of, and I still struggle with my external appearance and perfection because it runs really, really deep. I have coined a term. It's called cosmetic salvation. And what it means is that when you're pretty enough, you're good enough. And there's we know there's a lot of societal pressure for this, but what we don't realize is how deep it goes. It's actually tribal. It's very, very old. And there are so many industries that capitalize on that and that use us. It's almost a form of slavery, to be honest.
Well, and I think a lot of it happens also with social media now in the world and day and age of like, we're always just looking at ourselves or other people and comparing ourselves. And so it definitely can get so tricky. Okay. You also explore the idea that sometimes the thing I've been told is shameful is actually sacred. Can you share more about what that means to you?
Yes. So we're taught to hide certain things about ourselves. And when we actually make friends with those things, whether it's something we're embarrassed about, which is, by the way, the whole reason I wrote this book, is to transmute my story. And I was like, I still have these little pieces that I'm ashamed about that if anybody knew, I would just die. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to tell the world about it, because that is the quickest and fastest way to neutralize emotion and to transmute your story. And so that's what I did, and that's really a portal to power.
I like that. What does embodied spirituality look like for you now?
I think for me now, spirituality is every day. It's using all my senses. It's enjoying the sights, the smells, the scents, the sensations that my body has that I never knew it could have, now that I'm more free and have fewer brakes on and more gas, you could say. And so everything is spiritual to me now, every breath. And it is just a pleasure to be alive, and I feel like everything is magic to me now.
I felt that with you, actually, because this is the first time meeting you. When I walked into our podcast room, I felt that, like, you're very present. You don't rush things. You are very, you have this glow about you that not everyone has, and you're very present with, like, enjoying the moment that you're in and appreciating it. And that makes sense with what you just said. Yeah.
Thank you.
Did it take you a long time to get to that place?
It took me quite a few years. When we slow down and when we have new eyes to see, everything around us becomes, there are signs and wonders everywhere, and there are breadcrumbs for us to follow, answers to our deepest questions, what to do next, who to talk to, what experience to go deeper into. And living like that, living with that intention is such a game changer.
Living with that intention. Okay, you write about reclaiming sacred sexuality, a topic many women raised, like in high demand religion, struggle with. What was that process like for you?
It was awkward, really awkward. I got my first STI at age 50. So, navigating that, which then triggered shame, of course, in my body, which made it worse. And I realized that they were connected. So there was that. But really, people think when you leave that you have this freedom and automatically you get to enjoy your life. You don't, because you have been programmed for many, many years, and you have bought into that program, and you have found deep comfort in that program. So just because you leave doesn't mean that you're suddenly going to be free. And so you get to navigate and rebuild your life from the inside out. Luckily, I found some amazing mentors and a method that really worked for me to do that, to release those residues and alchemize all the stories, which I do with women now. But it is not smooth. It's a roller coaster, and I think women need to be prepared for that. Some women will just automatically swing wildly into promiscuity, for example, and find safety there. I went hardcore into a different flavor of spirituality. So a lot of people are into the drum circles, the plant medicine,
sound baths,
which I love all of that. And it can also replace your religion, which is still outsourcing your healing and outsourcing the magnificence that you find when you turn within.
So a slow process is what you're saying. It was like slow.
Yes, I think so. Also, there are some great hacks.
Is there one that you can chat about or talk about that you could give us?
You have to become so intimate with yourself.
Okay.
Which means stop lying to yourself.
Yeah.
Let's start there. And accepting every emotion that you have, and letting it teach you as it comes into your body. And every story, everything you've done, you have to fall in love with that.
And not push it out, not stop it, not hide it, just let it be, whatever emotion it is.
Yeah, make friends.
Yeah. I like that. Okay, you were married young into a prominent LDS family. How did that shape your sense of duty, identity, or success in your early adult years, would you say?
I was such a good girl. I was a poster child for Mormonism. And when I got married, I married someone who had a lineage in the church. And so he had prophets and apostles and these prominent leaders in his family line. And I thought that was pretty cool. And I thought that somehow that provided me security, that provided me a little bit of clout. Mm-hmm. And so to leave that, actually, I had to think about that deeply. And one of my best friends still is the prophet's daughter, the current prophet's daughter. I love her dearly. And so I lost a lot of friends
through the process. How old were you when you were married?
I got engaged when I was 19 years old.
Okay. Yeah, young. How has your personal evolution affected your relationships with your kids now that they see themselves in the world?
It was not easy for them to have a mother who was so deeply entrenched in the gospel, in the Mormon church, and taught them that was the way they should go, and then to suddenly do this what felt like a 180. Mm-hmm. They didn't know who I was, and they didn't know if they could trust me. So I lost the trust of my children in making such a quick pivot. But I'm a quick evolver. I'm a quick learner. And so it was a relatively fast process for me because I make mistakes quickly.
What age were your kids? Because if someone's listening right now thinking, I'm going through this right now and my kids are this age and they're not trusting me. What age were your kids when it kind of all started?
Well, I have 4 children, and my youngest was in high school. She was a junior. And so she finished those last couple years in an awkward way. She chose not to come live with me when I found a home, and I set up a bedroom for her. She just didn't want to be a part of that. And to this day, it's a pretty deep wound, and we're slowly reconciling that and working on that. And it's something that you can expect. It doesn't happen to everyone, but when leaving, just know that it's a possibility. But ultimately, I believe that truth prevails, and that authenticity is something that can always be sensed, even when people can't put their finger on it.
Yeah.
It is a high value for everyone.
Yeah, I agree. Paige, writing a memoir can be incredibly vulnerable. What was it like to revisit these moments through the lens of a writer?
Well, I am a huge fan. I had already written a screenplay and a trilogy for fun a few years before. But writing your own story is something completely different. And I encourage everyone to write about themselves and to write their story, because in doing so, you transmute it and you transcend it. And so I like to say, the story, you don't birth a story, the story births you. It's very, very true. And it causes you to have to put to words what happened to you, for you, and what you want it to mean. You get to choose that. You really get to assign the meaning to it. And so in doing so, it's like it alchemizes the past and enables you to take hold of the future.
Sure. Well, okay, so the stories that were especially difficult to include, we all have our traumas or ones that felt too important to leave out. Were there stories that were like too difficult to include?
Yes, definitely. The one I'm putting in last minute now is about my children when they were little. And I think there's certain things I bypassed without even meaning to. That was one of them, because it is such a beautiful, tender time, and I just cherish it so much. It was kind of painful to write about it again.
Okay.
A second one would be the latest edition. Before that was about a time I went to Los Angeles for a surgery. It was supposed to be kind of minor surgery, cosmetic, and it ended up being huge. And the physician did far more than I even bargained for. So painful. I was all alone. I didn't have one soul who knew where I was, because I was so embarrassed that I was actually doing this that I flew alone to Los Angeles.
How old were you when this happened?
I was around 50.
Okay.
Around 50. And so anyway, just horrendous experience. And I felt like, and that's one of those things that I was hiding. And I was like, nope. This one because I'm hiding it, it's going to come into the book. And I did a whole chapter on who gets more money, God or the surgeon. And I make a parallel, the celestial room to the surgical suite. So here in Utah, that's a pretty hot topic, especially with television shows that expose the secret lives of Mormon wives, that look into relationships of perhaps polyamory or polygamy. No one's really talking about, this is the first book that really looks at coming out of Mormonism, taking your freedom, taking a new take on spirituality, and coming out someone that you're really proud of, who still is very connected to God, has redefined God in a rich way, and does not hold bitterness for the experiences of Mormonhood in the past.
And that's probably a nice place to land, where you don't have that bitterness and you have the peace. What do you hope readers walk away with after reading your book, Pinocchio Girl?
I hope that women start talking about all of it. I hope that they don't keep the things, the secrets. And I hope that they'll come. Brooke Lark and I, and she also has a story and a podcast, but we've created something called the Eve Collective, where we highlight these iconic women throughout time, and then we dance. And so that's one thing we do, where it's like, you know what, we get to be in our joy, and joy is also a very high vibrational emotion alongside with authenticity. And we also started what's called the Weavers Project, and that is where we just tell stories. It's a women's 40+ storytelling night. So I want women talking about their stories as a way of evolving together.
I think the more we talk, the more we share, even though it's so vulnerable. It feels so vulnerable at the time. You have no idea how many people you're helping that feel so alone in their own story and their own truth. And just to know that that they're not, and they may have a similar story to you, is going to help so many people. Paige, if you could go back and tell your younger self one thing, let's just, maybe we do one or two things. At the beginning of your marriage, your faith crisis, or your motherhood journey, what would it be?
I think that I would tell myself that I have everything I need inside, everything. And I have this ex-boyfriend that drove me crazy, and he always said,
we always have one of those, two of those, or three of those, right?
he called me out. He called me out. I had painted a painting, and I just couldn't get it right, my little perfectionistic self, and I ripped it up and I threw it in the trash. He fished it out, pieced it back together, framed it, and he put a little plaque on the bottom, and it said, "Our imperfections are our perfections." And I was like, damn it. You were right. And he called me out on this quest for constant perfectionism. And I would just say, you're already perfect. And everything in every moment actually is, even the stuff that's gross and hard, it's for us. Life is always for us, not against us.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. That's so good. That's some good knowledge there. Okay, you ask, is there still time for me to become who I was always meant to be? How do you answer that question for yourself, or for someone else maybe asking that same question?
You know, when you reach 40 and beyond, let's say menopause age, you're asking yourself this all the time. You're going through these big changes. Life isn't what it used to be. Sex isn't what it used to be. And there's something interesting, and that is that nature has selected for women to live longer than men, despite the fact that they can't have babies anymore. So why would that be? I believe it's because the women are the wisdom keepers, and the wisdom is what humanity needs to evolve. And so I stand for honoring the crone and having what I call a juicy genius life, which is like life gets to be even juicier when you come into that crone, when you come into that genius, because you've had so many jobs, you've lived through so many roles, you have so much wisdom in your pinky finger that you are absolutely invaluable to society. But your life will not reflect that until you see your worth. And once you do, and once you claim the pleasure, the prosperity, whatever it is that you want, maybe it's rest, it doesn't matter. Once you claim it and you learn that your very body is a template for magnetizing anything you've ever wanted, which then gets into not this interview, but deeper truths of the womb, your life becomes this magical thing because everything comes to you.
That feels nice. That feels nice. Okay, quick question though. So say someone is not living in their truth, and maybe it's not religion, maybe it's just something else. How do you get to the point where you find what is your truth? Like, are you just going to feel uncomfortable? And how would you know if you're just not quite, is it like intuition?
That's a great question. You know you're living in your truth because you have joy. Because I'm an emotional resonance practitioner, and
Okay, wait, what is that?
so what that is I'm like a detective. I'm like an emotional detective, and so we take a look at your entire life, and we neutralize the stories and the residues that you carry around that you tell yourself systematically.
Okay.
So it's a system and a process and a journey. And so what I've learned through that is that, first of all, not to shun any of it, but the higher vibrational emotions, which are authenticity, joy, purpose, when we're living those, that's how you know you're on track. And when you align your values with your actions, I'm not kidding you, and I'm looking for a quantum scientist to prove this, but something truly happens where life starts lining up for you. There are 4 laws that kick into effect, and That's the law of compounding energy, law of magnetism, the law of momentum, and the law of charge. And it literally means that you have to work harder or work less hard to be more happy. Mm-hmm. It's science. I'm trying to prove it. That's one of my next endeavors. But yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah. And I think if people are listening, wondering if, wondering even if it's not religion, if it's somewhere else in their life that they're just not feeling authentic and feeling that joy and magnetism, like you said, how would you know? And I think you explained it perfectly. Paige, what's next for you? Do you see more writing, speaking, or creative work in your future?
Absolutely. I love writing. I'm such a creatrix at heart. From the time I was young, I've been writing and painting, producing art, which, part of that, now this is interesting, part of it was being chosen. I've always wanted to be chosen, which is part of that deep programming. But in doing so, it helped to hone these talents, these creative talents, which now bring me so much joy. So that's why I say don't judge any of it. Don't judge yourself. Be easy on yourself, because sometimes even the quirks about us that we can't stand, they bring us something. There's always a gift in it. So yes, I will be writing more. I'm an artist. I'm a portrait artist also by hobby. And I love having the conversations. And the newest thing that I'm so excited about, I steward land. I steward a mountain. And I'm looking for land right now where I can create spaces that are just dedicated to this type of work. And I'm looking for support and partnerships and legacy. And I'm just excited for that. And I know, because I have lined my actions and I have imagined what is possible. It's already lining up for me in ways that are so big. I feel almost ill prepared for it, but I'm just managing my emotions and believing that legacy is here now.
I can't wait to see what this looks like for you. I'm so excited. I'm so excited for you. Okay, as we wrap up, Paige, maybe a couple takeaways if someone reads your book, what they will draw from it and how it can help them.
I would say, first of all, get the book, read the book. Pinocchio Girl, A Mormon Mother's Journey to Reclaim Sex, Love, and God. That's the title of this book. You'll know it's the book because you'll see a puppet on the front. I flew in a body painter, a famous body painter from Denver, to paint me like a puppet. In some very special apparel in paint. And look for the book. I'm also looking for a launch team and people who want to pre-read the book and get some yummy special gifts. I will have those links in all of my social medias, and that's a fun way to get talking and to get to read the book early.
How would you say people are going to walk away after reading your book? What will they feel? What do you want them? What is your hope, your ultimate hope that they feel after reading Pinocchio Girl?
I just hope that they'll get real. Just get real with themselves, get real with others, get real with what is, because there's no shame in it.
You heard it right from Paige. There's no shame, ladies. No shame. Okay, where can we get the book and where can we follow along with your adventures and to see what's next for you? What's the best place to go?
Best place to go right now is my social media. So I am Paige Trinnaman Kimball on social media. I also have started an Instagram just for Pinocchio Girl itself.
Yay.
Also Facebook, same names. And that's it. And what I'm looking for right now is to hop on that waiting list so I can add this little section about my kids in my book, and hop on the launch team if that's exciting to you.
I'm sure it will be. I'm sure people will be doing that. Paige, you're incredible. You're phenomenal. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and your knowledge and your story with our listeners. It's been a pleasure talking with you, and I can't wait to read the book as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you for listening to another episode of Fresh Off the Set. Please rate, review, and subscribe, and we will see you next week.